thing the other chess students have had difficulty with. Technically, a pawn is a piece. It is a chess piece, no question about it. But when we say develop your pieces, we don't count the pawns. In fact, in everyday language, if somebody says, he's just a pawn, they're saying that you're like nobody, you're nothing, you're just a pawn. So in chess, we kind of don't think of pawns as being chess pieces when we talk about developing. So right now, Avni, you made all of these pawn moves, but these guys are still sleeping on the job. You got to get them into the game. So we try not to make too many pawn moves. We're trying to, and now look at this knight. He can't even move.
He can't
Look
do
what you
it.
did.
That's what
You
we
took
are.
away that square. See, this is, now you asked me what is cooperation. This is the opposite of cooperation. If that knight could talk, you say, hey, can I get some cooperation here? Look what you did. You took away all my squares. I can't move. Let's get together
Yeah,
here.
he cannot move anywhere.
The knight has no
Suffocated,
moves,
right?
because your own pawns are not cooperating with him. They're being bad teammates. Maybe those are good squares for the pawns, but how about your knight? You got, and then if you can't get the knight out, how are you ever going to get him out? And how are you going to get him out? Look, he has no moves
He
either.
also stuck up.
Yeah. So these two pieces can't even move because you put your pawns in the way. So that's the opposite of cooperation. This is so now it's your move. So what you probably have to do now is maybe push this pawn and try to get the knight out here, and maybe move him way here. It's just going to be very difficult because those pawn moves actually they were not good moves because they took away squares that your pieces should be occupying. And they're still sleeping on the job. At least Afrin got this bishop into the game, and that's a good diagonal, by the way. Bishops. Remember, we were talking about the number of squares that I can go to. Well, on this diagonal, a bishop can go to 8 squares, and that's and this diagonal. The two diagonals that go corner to corner are the long diagonals, and that's where bishops belong. Because no other diagonal has 8 squares on it. I mean, there's some diagonals with 7 squares and 6 and 5 and 4 and 3 and 2, but you want to, I was going to say maximize the potential, but those are a lot of big words. You want to make your pieces as strong as they possibly can be. So the more squares they can go to, it's simple arithmetic. Just, really, you just do the math. 4 squares instead of 8 squares. 8 squares instead of 6 squares. So right away, so Afrin did well here. Both of her bishops are where they belong. I don't like that knight. And Avni, I don't like these sleepyheads here. You got to put them to work. And I don't see how you're going to get them into the game right now. So, but that's what you have to figure out. So you're going to have to, well, you would like to push this pawn, but if they push this pawn now, she'll get your rook, so that's out of the question. So now you got a difficult job ahead of you. Maybe you could at least move your queen here to get your queen into the game, and then maybe push this pawn and try to get the bishop and the knight into the game. You see, it's all about developing your pieces. And then this is the opening. The opening is like you're preparing the meal. You don't come home from school and say, wow, I'm so hungry, I'm just going to eat uncooked food. Not too smart, right? Yeah, but I'm in a hurry. I don't want to wait 15 minutes while you cook the food. Well, still, you have to wait. And in chess, you have to wait maybe about 15 moves before you start playing the game. First, you have to prepare, get all your pieces into the game. Yeah, I know you want to start attacking, but no, first things first. First, we have to get our soldiers into the right position and get our king safe. And right now, you still have some work to do here with these 4 guys. All right, so that's one piece. And now, Avni, you still have some sleeping pieces as well. I mean, Afrin, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, he already moved. See, we have a rule in chess: don't move the same piece twice until your rooks are connected. That's what they teach you, all right? Now, in order to connect your rooks, you got to get these 2 guys out of the way. So what are you moving him for? Well, he's good. You got to get these 2. So maybe you got to do this, this, and this. This is your job to figure out, or maybe here, here, and here. But somehow you have to connect your rooks, and so you don't go moving the same piece twice until your rooks are connected. unless it's absolutely necessary. Like if a pawn is attacking one of your pieces, then of course you have to move it. But other than that, you don't want to move the same piece more than once until your rooks are connected. That's the rule that they teach you. So now it's your move. All right, that's better. Okay, now, Avni, I think what you're going to have to do is maybe push this pawn. Well, we got to push him 2 squares. You see? In order to make room for these guys to get out. So I think you got to go 2 squares like that in order for the knight to get out and the bishop to get out. Now, how about Afrin? How about you getting your queen and knight into the game? Afrin? Queen here. Doesn't look bad, right? Avni, maybe knight here. Perhaps, you know. And now maybe bring your knight there. I don't know. Could be good. And now the poor bishop is still blocked, so we got to get the knight to move one more time. So it's going to be take a few more moves. And maybe I would go rook here, knight here, and bishop here. It's going to take a while, but this is what you have to think about doing. And Afrin, this is where I disagree with the chess books. Every chess book will tell you that you've completed your development. But when I told you that story about the boss tapping me on the shoulder that day, I'll never forget that, because that's not good when the owner of the company basically says you're not doing your job properly because somebody's goofing off. So when I see that rook, I think of that guy who's goofing off on the job, and I'm the manager, and I can't let that happen. So for me, now I'm in the middle game. The chess books will tell you, oh, this is the middle game, but this guy's not working. He's doing nothing. So I got to figure out, so I will put him here or someplace, let's say there, and now I'm in the middle game. Even though the chess books will say, see, to me, this is one move away from the middle game. I still got one more guy who's not working. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I'm in the middle game.
Excuse me, working means he is protecting the queen.
He's doing something.
Yeah.
I had a student one time, I said to him, your rook's doing nothing on A8. Let's do this. He goes, well, the rook is doing nothing on E8 either. I says, well, wait a minute, what do you mean doing nothing? See, I said, you're thinking about kill, 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 die, die, die. He's doing nothing tactical, but positionally. A few years ago, I was teaching a cop in my hometown. I gave him 4 lessons, but he wasn't any good, so he stopped taking lessons. So I tried to explain it to him this way. There was an all-night gas station in my town where a gang of kids would hang out on Friday and Saturday night. But every now and then, a police car would be parked right near the parking lot, and no gang of kids all night long. So I said to the cop, I said, was the police chief happy or angry the following morning? Did he say, you guys did nothing all night, you just sat in your police car, you're not getting paid? No, he says, you did a good job. You prevented the gang of kids. Nobody got into a fist fight in the parking lot. Nobody was skateboarding and broke his leg in the parking lot, and there was no motorists complaining about people throwing things at their cars. You know, these are the things that would happen. So if you're positioned properly, it's all about preventing. See, so this rook is doing nothing in the sense of capturing material, but he's going to prevent. White is not even going to think about trying to cause trouble here. White's going to say, uh-oh, forget about trying to invade on the E-file. Look, there's a police car parked near the intersection. We better go hang out somewhere else tonight, because you're preventing. Over here, he's down at the Dunkin' Donuts drinking coffee, which is what the cops sometimes do. He's out of position. But if you put the police car right here, no trouble today. And if at the end of the game your opponent says, you wasted a move with the rook, nothing happened on the E-file, I think to myself, and that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted nothing to happen on the E-file. I wanted to prevent. So that's what you're. So he's doing nothing tactically on this square, but he's doing his job. You're never gonna worry about an invasion taking place on the E-file as long as he's where he belongs. But now, you haven't completed your development yet, so you're gonna probably have to move him here, and him there, and then him here. You see, you made your job much more difficult for yourself. You could have done this a lot faster, but you gotta get all these guys into the game. All right, so now, let's see, what's over we got? We got only about 5 minutes. but again, and even this piece, I would say, is not developed. There's a chess book I once read, The Middle Game in Chess, where the author, a grandmaster, said we have to differentiate between moving a piece off its original square and developing a piece. Just because you move a piece off its original square, well, is that a good square for the knight? I mean, I've seen people say, I developed my rook, coach. How's it developing your rook? What's that? You know, that's going from one bad square to another, you know. No, simply moving a piece is not the same as developing a piece. But maybe now I would take time out to go there, you see, and try to get that knight centralized. Now he's got 8 squares instead of 4. And maybe Avni would take time to do this. And now we got a chess game going. And now this is where you would have to start come up with a plan. Because the good news about chess is you can see all of your opponent's moves. The bad news is he can see all of your moves. This isn't like poker. I can play poker and pretend. Oh, I bet $100. Woo, he's betting $100. You must have a full house. I've got nothing, you know, but I'm bluffing. But in chess, you can't bluff. They can see right there that, you know, what's on the board. So you have to come up with a really good plan. And he's going to know what your plan is, and then you have to use your tactics to carry it out. And right now, Efren, if I had to come up with a plan here, what would I try to do? I would think to myself, Avni has a bad bishop. This is bad cooperation, Avni. These pawns are all blocking him. See, this is the opposite of cooperation. This is your good bishop. He has nobody blocking him. So my whole strategy as black would be, I'm going to try to trade off this good bishop. Somehow I'm going to try to trade off this guy for that guy and go into an end game where Avni's going to have a bad bishop. And I'm going to try to win that end game. That would be my strategy. Now maybe if Bobby Fischer were alive, he'd say, forget that. I got a better strategy. You know, he's a better player than I am. But that would be my strategy. And then Avni, on the other hand, would say, well, now that I realize I do have a bad bishop, my strategy is somehow I have to trade this guy off for that guy and get rid of him. I have to get rid of my bad bishop. And that would be the battle lines. Then you would have to play out the middle game and try to carry out your strategies. And then we'd have the end game. So if at the end of the middle game we're now in the end game and this guy is still a bad bishop, that's not too good for the white pieces, you know. But on the other hand, if she's able to trade off her bad bishop, she's probably okay in the end game. Now, what White's strategy would be at this point, I don't see any weaknesses. Perhaps this is close to being a bad bishop. You know, he's not quite as bad as this guy. This guy's completely blocked. He's entombed. We say, you know, this one at least has the open diagonal, but if you look here, Efren, 7 of your 8 pawns are in the same color. So that's an additional reason why you want to trade him more for this guy. You're getting rid of her good bishop, getting rid of your bad bishop, and now you're going to be left with a good bishop versus her bad bishop, and then you have to know endgame technique. You know, chess is not easy, as we say. Then you would have to study endgames and know how to win that winning endgame.
Okay, then.
You know, Frank Marshall, the grandmaster who founded the Marshall Chess Club, where I've been a member for more than 40 years, had a famous saying. He says the most difficult game to win is a one game, because after all that hard work, you finally get the end game, the good bishop versus the bad bishop. You know, Bobby Fischer could win that game because he was a great end game player, but a lot of us, we still can't win. It's very difficult to win. You know, chess is not easy, but one thing at a time. You know, let's at least develop our pieces, and we'll start teaching you a little bit of strategy, and then we'll worry about the end game, you know, down the road. But at some point, we'll have to study some end games. And there are books. There's a book that I can recommend, but it costs about $25. See, chess books can be expensive, called The Complete Endgame Course by an international master, Jeremy Silman, where it's not the most thorough endgame book again, but it's the most reader-friendly. Some of these endgame books are almost impossible to read. But if you can, you know, so they're more thorough, they're probably better endgame books in that sense, that they're more complete, but they're not very reader-friendly. So the books I recommend for my students are the ones that you can actually read and understand.